Thank you for tuning in. In today's episode, we're going to learn how to build a real estate team, part 2. We covered a little bit earlier, and it was so much information, I decided to extend it. So we're going into part 2, how to build a real estate team. There comes a point when you're tired of working in your business and it's time to work on your business and to get some help and get some relief, and if you're really good, make a business that runs without you. We're going to be talking about that today. Number 1, we're going to learn about the difference between employees and subcontractors. Number 2, we're going to learn about some of the easiest positions to sub out. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about systems, processes, and procedures. So stick around. So maybe it's easiest to talk about employees versus subcontractors by taking my personal office and showing you how it runs. My personal office consists of several paid upon success people and a few employees. So, number 1, we got to go where the rubber meets the road, the acquisition people. I have 4 acquisition people. They work solely for us at my office. Their job every day, all day long, their only job is to find motivated sellers and buy their house for our company. Now they're paid upon success, which means I don't have any payroll to meet on Fridays. I pay when it's time to buy the house. When I borrow the money to buy the house, I also borrow the money to pay my acquisition manager. So that's nice. And that's one of the differences between employees and a commission salesman or a paid upon success person, is that you don't have to run every Friday for payroll and scramble to find payroll. I pay with the money that hits the table when the deals are erected. I have to have a few people in the office that come day in and day out and manage all these pay upon success jobs and our whole facility. So I have 2 people that get paid a salary. One is a central administrator, and she gets paid probably the most of any employee I have. Not probably, undoubtedly. You know, this is a high-paying position. She's in the center of the war, and she's conducting all the movements and making sure that things are going in the right flow. This person is critical to the business because they sit right in the middle of the business. They close every transaction coming in, and they close every transaction going out. Then we have 2 salespeople. The reason we have 2 salespeople is you can't expect one salesperson to work 365 days a year, every weekend out of the year, and after hours all the time. It's too much. You got to have 2. The other reason you have 2 salespeople is because it spawns competition. You know, I have this house. It's a beautiful house. Whoever sells it's going to make some great money. Which one of you can sell it first and fast? Because that's who's going to get paid. And so that position is also paid upon success. I do not have to scramble for payroll for my salespeople because they get paid when they bring in the down payments and all the papers are signed and we sell or finance that house to their buyer. But we pay them out of the down payments that they collect. So I'm only having to pay them with the money that hits the table, and I only pay them when the money hits the table. So between my 4 acquisition guys and my 2 salespeople, I don't have to scramble for payroll. It all happens when the money comes to the table. And that's a very comforting position to be in. Because if you've ever owned a business where you have to scramble for payroll every Friday, it's a horrible place to be. It's like a treadmill that never ends. You can't get off of it and you can't turn it off. You just got to keep running and keep running. That's what I like about paid upon success positions. They don't do a job and bring money to the table, they don't get paid. When they do bring money to the table, it's pretty easy to pay them. So I talked about my 1 paid employee, the central administrator, but as this job got bigger and bigger and there were more demands on this central administrator, we had to hire an assistant for this personal administrator. So that assistant makes about $15 an hour, and if they're the right person, they could be groomed up to actually take the administrator's position so that the administrator can move on to a higher level position in our company. But right now, we have a central administrator and we have an assistant for that central administrator. And those are the only two salaries I have in my entire company that does 100 houses a year. Now there's another class of workers that we need to talk about. But before we talk about that, I'd like to ask you, go hammer that button, will you please? Just hammer both of those buttons, the like button and the share button. And I'm going to tell you about this other class of workers that we need to discuss. So we talked about people that are working for us that are getting paid upon success. And we talked about people that are making a salary or more like employees. Okay? But there's this other class of workers. They're called subcontractors. And you have a choice to make. Some people that have organizations the size of mine that do 100 houses a year, or even a little bit less, or certainly more, they choose to bring all these contractors in-house. They have an AC guy that works for just them. They have a carpet guy that works for just them. They have, a remodeling person that works for just them. I really, really don't like to be responsible and run for payroll every Friday. I've had that kind of business before, and it really made a bad impression on me. I got stuck on that treadmill. I couldn't get off, and I couldn't turn it off, and it was a horrible place to be. So I choose to hire all these workers as subcontractors. Subcontractors, number one, they have to have their own entity. They either have to have a corporation or an LLC, but I don't write checks to individuals and give them a W-9. I write checks to LLCs or corporations, and I don't have to do anything but write checks. It's up to them to make all their disclosures about how much money they made and all that. So I like to find contractors, and then what I do is I give them so much work, the ones I like. I give them so much work that they really just focus on me as a client. Now they might do a little bit of side jobs here or there, but I'm their mainstay, and they know it and I know it. And one of the ways that I make sure that they're loyal to me is we pay every Friday for the job or the work that they have completed. Every Friday. And that's what those contractors get addicted to. Being paid fair, being paid on time, and being paid consistently, week after week after week, because we always have work. That's what gets them hooked in. That's what brings their loyalty. So they're as loyal as an employee or even more loyal than an employee, but I don't have to deal with payroll at the end of every week. So you might be asking, what do you do in the business, Mitch? Do you just sit back and make deposits to the bank account, or do you have any role in it? Well, I do have a role. My role is to make sure that there's enough private money to fund every deal that comes in that front door. And my partner, Mike Powell's job is to oversee the 4 acquisition people and the 2 salespeople. And then together, Mike Powell, my partner, and I watch over the infrastructure of the office in general. So I'm out getting private money. He's watching the acquisition people and the salespeople, and together we are talking about the flow of this office and how we can improve if we need other people or if we don't need other people. So what are some of the easiest positions to sub out? Easiest positions in this business, and maybe a lot of other different businesses, might all be pretty much the same. But I'd say bookkeeping, tax at the end of the year or CPA, sales is an easy one to sub out all the time. There are lots of salesmen out there. Just have to find the one that can sell your product. And last but not least, collections. No matter what business you're in, someone owes you some money and someone's got to be responsible for collecting it. So, collections. Those 4 are probably the easiest to sub out. And I would start from the very beginning of your career with a bookkeeper and a CPA, and then as you can, wean off of sales and collections. On the subject of systems, processes, and procedures, well, they're always going to be different for every company. But figure out where your bottleneck is. Wherever the place is in your office that's holding you up. In our office, it seemed like the bottleneck was always the central administrator. She could never get enough done in a day, and that's why she was the first person to get an assistant. And as soon as we got that assistant, we started noticing the flow opening back up again because that bottleneck had been solved. So figure out where your bottleneck is. Try to find software or revamp your systems or find something to automate as much as you can about what's slowing you down. and keep trying to improve every month. How do you make things run smoother? Can we even eliminate positions? Can we make it run so smooth that instead of these two tasks being handled by two different people, that we've made it run so smooth now that these two tasks can be run by one person? And we keep doing those improvements every month. We're always looking. Where's our bottleneck? Where are we exposed? Where are we slowing down? What's cramping us? Where are we being cramped? And over a period of months and years, we figured out what works for us. Please do not think for a minute that you're going to buy one software or one automation and that first one you pick is going to work for you. If you're like many people I talk to, you'll try many different things until you find the thing that works for you in your office. The point is, don't give up. If you try a software and it doesn't work, then throw it in the trash can. Don't cry too long about what you spent on it and how much time you spent with it. Just when you figure out it's not for you, get rid of it and start looking for the next thing. This is a routine that happens in every office that I've ever talked to about. They try things that doesn't work, they move along. They try something else that doesn't work, they move along. They finally find the thing that works and they're humming like crazy. So where do you start? I have some advice, and every one-man show needs to hear this. You're going to have to take a step back to fix your systems. This means you may not buy as many houses this month or the next 3 months because you're trying to fix a system. You'll have to take a step backwards before you can explode forward. It happens in every business. It's what happens in my business. The year that I decided I didn't have to do 100 houses this year, I wasn't going to do 100 houses this year, I was going to fix this office, was the year that I fixed it. After many failures, I fixed it when I decided I wasn't going to work on anything else but fixing my office. That meant I went from doing 100 houses a year to doing about a little over 30 that year. I took a huge step backwards, but I fixed this office, and now it does 100 houses a year and more without me. And that's a great sense of freedom and a great sense of accomplishment. Am I glad that I took that step back, took that hit for a year? Absolutely. Because I couldn't go many more years the way I was going. If I could even go one more year. I was exasperated. Under this new way that things run, where I don't have to be involved, I can do this forever. No retirement in this man's future. So I have a free gift for you. It's a free recording of a group coaching Q&A call. It's about an hour and 45 minutes long, and it's an archived version of one of our coaching calls that we have every week. I think we've had it for about 5 years now. There's over 500 hours of archived calls when you join this group coaching call. But I want you to get a sense and a feel for how they go. So this is a perfect way to tune into a call, listen to how these calls go, and experience for yourself firsthand just how much you'll be able to learn if you start attending these calls regularly. So I want you to go to 1000houses.com/free-stuff and scroll down till you see recorded Q&A call. Click on that and it'll be downloaded to you in a matter of seconds. So be sure to check out the precursor to this episode. There was an episode before this one called How to Build a Real Estate Team. The subject was so big I had to break it into 2 pieces. So you might want to find the other segment, and I think you'll enjoy it as well.